We're here to talk about changes that occur when you retire. Because retirement is not just about leaving a career, it's about making a transition into a new life. For me, this transition has been a powerful rediscovery of many things about myself that I had forgotten. I've found that life after retirement can be filled with purpose and meaning and joy, even more so than it was prior. In this talk, I want to share 5 ways in which my life has significantly changed since retirement. These changes have not only reshaped the way I live, but it's given me a deeper understanding of what really matters in my life. I hope I can offer some insights that are useful to you. The first thing that has changed is my spending habits. I've gone from a life of, frankly, too much to a life of careful consumption. I budget every penny now. I've shifted from casual spending to meticulously counting every nickel, every penny that I spend. I use a simple spreadsheet to do that, and I literally count every penny. I had to make some choices when I retired. I could either use my pension and take another job and continue the lifestyle I was in, or I could use my pension and not take another job and change my lifestyle. I chose the latter. Some of the things I've learned, I bulk buy now because I limit my trips to the store. I don't just convenience purchase anymore. I don't do that. I go a couple times a month and get food in bulk. I buy things through Amazon if I really need them. I don't buy a whole lot anymore. Actually has made me less, let's call it reactive. I'm not a reactive spender anymore. Oddly, what I've found is that there's a certain level of happiness in spending less. There's a certain level of fulfillment, maybe even joy, in not being so addicted to the consumer society as I used to be. My urge to purchase things is pretty much gone. I've found certain contentment in simplicity. Another big change in my spending habits is that I prefer now quality over quantity, particularly in food, because, well, as I mentioned, that's mostly what I spend my money on these days. But I have stopped purchasing low-quality processed food to buy organic vegetables, grass-fed meats, pasture-raised chickens. The food that I eat is of a much, much higher quality than it used to be. I've realized that spending more money on quality is a much better bargain in the long run. And I find value in the things that I've already owned. I went back when I had purchasing power. I bought a whole lot of things, and I have come to value those things more than I ever did before. The work tools, all the things that I had purchased before and had been kind of laying around, I find uses for pretty much everything that I own. And if I don't find a use for it, I get rid of it. I am minimizing my life in a lot of ways, spending being the driving factor in that. When I do spend money, it tends to be on experiences. I save to spend quality time with my kids. We do a lot of things together more than toward goods. I'm very careful about the goods that I buy, where I buy them, how I buy them, and what they are. So with regard to food, I've made huge changes. I used to what do they call it, seafood. I used to be a seafood guy. If I saw food, I'd eat it. And I was overweight, not feeling good about myself. I had kind of gotten out of sorts with my body, because it was just time for me to refine myself, my soul, my physical soul, so that I could find my inner person. And I have changed my food habits radically since I've retired. I cook pretty much every meal that I eat. I buy, as I mentioned, I buy quality foods, nothing processed anymore. I don't eat flour, I don't eat sugar, don't use alcohol. My diet is very clean. I make broth, chicken broth, and in fact I'll buy a whole chicken, and the whole chicken lasts me for about 3 days because I cut it up, eat the breast one day, the leg another day, and I make chicken stock which lasts for easily a month. Quality pasture-raised chicken. I get grass-fed beef, cut it into smaller pieces. I used to eat, a pound and a half, or just ridiculous amounts of beef at the same time. I now cut those into roughly 4 to 6 ounce bite-sized pieces. My diet is varied, but it's varied within parameters. I eat the same 8 or so vegetables pretty much every month. I rotate what I eat on a daily basis. I don't eat nearly the amount of protein beef that I used to. I try to avoid, in fact, I honestly do avoid factory-raised food for several reasons. It's not good for you. It's not good for us, and it's just disgusting for the animal. So I've used the pasture-raised food that comes from the farmers markets. I also eat a lot of nuts. I make hummus a lot, that sort of thing. I don't eat anything after 7 p.m. anymore. I intermittent fast probably 4 or 5 days a week. The long and short of it is my food choices have changed radically. I knew better than what I was doing with food. I'm a much happier person than I was 6 months ago. Related to that, I found that my sleep patterns are completely different. I kind of interval sleep these days. I will frequently go to sleep at 9:30, wake up at in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock or so, work for a couple hours, go back to sleep. And since I don't have a schedule that I have to meet, it works pretty well. I was never a day napper, but I've become a day napper. I don't mind taking a nap in the middle of the day. So once the schedule changed, I find that my habits changed with regard to how I utilize my energy, how I conserve my energy, and how I build my energy. And of course, sleep is a huge piece of your energy levels. And sleep has become my friend, where it wasn't always. It used to be kind of a struggle to get a decent night's sleep. As I say, I wake up in the middle of the night. I love working in the middle of the night, actually. It's quiet. I'm the only one around, except maybe the spirits. They kind of help sometimes. But jokes aside, well, half jokes aside, I get a lot done in the middle of the night. I find that I'm very focused, I'm awake and aware, and I don't have trouble going back to sleep. That allows me, the fact that I have more energy has allowed me to get back into a walking schedule. And now I walk a couple miles a day again, and I do bands and light lifting. I don't train like an Olympian anymore, but I do light lifting, bands for flexibility, do a lot of stretches. But because I am sleeping properly, I have the energy to do that sort of thing. So this is a really positive thing that's come out of retirement. So far we've got 3 pretty positive things. We cut back our consumerist impulses. We've stopped eating crappy food, and we have changed our sleep patterns so that they meet my personal needs. And related to all of that is quiet time. I have a lot of quiet time these days. I've always been an introvert, so I'm not really that put off by being out here mostly alone. Have been in situations for far too long where I had to be on other people's schedules. I had to do things all the time that were really not my things. So when I've come out here and found my solitude, my solace in being alone, it's really quite comforting, and I like that. I have more time to meditate, I have more time to read, I play my guitar a lot more, I'm learning things that I've forgotten about. In fact, that kind of rolls into the 5th one, which is I've rejuvenated several of my hobbies. I guess 4 and 5 kind of go together. Have a lot of personal quiet time, number 4. And number 5, I have been able to come back to a lot of the hobbies that I had sort of put aside, like, well, guitar we just mentioned, music in general, painting, writing, poetry, reading. I find that my life is more my own these days. I think that kind of makes the point. The 5 things that I would talk about are I've dropped my consumerist impulses, I eat better, I sleep better, I have a lot more quiet time, and I've picked up hobbies that I'd kind of forgotten about. The downside, of course, is you don't have as much money as you used to. I live off of much less money than I was used to. I made changes, some would say sacrifices. I'm not feeling them as sacrifices. I'm not burdened by a bunch of things. In fact, I'm minimizing my things. My list of things is getting shorter and shorter by the day. In terms of quiet time, I feel like I'm working a lot smarter these days and not harder, and getting a lot more done in the same amount of time. Retirement has been a way to ramp up my productivity. In fact, there's nothing about this retirement that says stop or slow down even. And that's good. That's real good. I like that. The changes that I'm making have me completely off medications. I am healthy as I've been in 25 years. Having my health is a good thing, and that's also why I work out as hard as I do and why I walk and all that, is that the 2 huge things that come up as you get older are finances and health. The rest of it sort of falls into place. So anybody who's approaching this over the next decade or so, focus on those 2 things. Focus on getting your finances right and focus on your health. If you have those 2 things, you can start to create joy and purpose from doing the things that you want to do. It's not even that you need huge amounts of money. You don't. You need to make sure that your money is in line with your spending. If you bring in $10 and spend $10, that's fine. That's the same as making $100,000 and spending $100,000. It's not what you make, it's what you keep, and I think that's true. That's what I mean by having control of your money. And if you can do that, then you have freedom to start working on the things that you really want to work on. And that, my friends, is true freedom. I want to leave you with this. Don't think of retirement as the end of the road in any way. It's not. It's a beginning. It's a time when we can realign ourselves with our higher purpose. It's a time when we can redefine ourselves. It's a way to find joy in simple moments. The thing I want you to remember is what we do from here is entirely up to us. So hopefully we can all figure out how to make better choices and do the right thing. Let's move forward with passion, with purpose, with creativity, with design in our hearts, with love in our hearts. And let's do this.